It could have been a fluke, but apparently it's not. Joe Rogan has been dethroned, and by a bunch of libs, actually. That's the shocker. He is now no longer the biggest podcast in the world for 2 months running. The king is dead. Long live the king. The MeidasTouch king, apparently, because we'd reported last month on them surging ahead of Rogan, and it's only gotten worse for the brosphere or whatever since then. Take a look at this. The MeidasTouch podcast got over 121 million downloads. That's not just above Rogan, that is almost lapping Rogan, at least on the Podscribe rankings there. And they've been growing a ton. They grew 141% after growing a ton the previous month. I mean, that's huge. Now, Rogan is still number 2. That's not bad. I'm pretty sure he's doing better than the TDR podcast. I'm not gonna fact check it to protect my ego, but he's probably beating us. But he's not number 1 anymore. And so they had grown by 101%, the MeidasTouch podcast. They had 56 million downloads, that's in February. And then they managed to basically double it the next time over, and that's huge. And I think it demands sort of an explanation. Why would you see so much change in just a couple of months? Well, first of all, I think a lot of libs coming out of the election are like, well, I don't like CNN's not giving me what I want, MSNBC is not giving me what I want. All the media is turning more right wing. Well, at least you have, some who are willing to identify what Donald Trump is doing. And I think that MeidasTouch has carved out I guess not really a niche if you're the biggest podcast, but an area where they do that. But then at the same time, why is Rogan not gaining numbers? I mean, Fox News has a lot of people tuning in with all the insanity Donald Trump is doing. Well, last month we talked about the Elon Musk effect. And a lot of Joe Rogan fans kind of seem like they're getting sick of him. The Joe Rogan subreddit is just awash with attacks against Elon Musk, who has been brought back onto the Joe Rogan podcast again in the last month. You have memes about how Musk is acting out Dr. Strangelove and stuff like that. And they're also sharing clips of Elon Musk arguing for why Social Security and Medicare should be cut, which I think a lot of the Joe Rogan fans who aren't necessarily rich, they're certainly not the richest man in the world like Musk, don't love the idea that Joe Rogan, who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, is bringing on the wealthiest man in the world to say why they should have fewer government services. And so you can sort of understand why some of the audience would be frustrated. And look, I think in general, we've always assumed that the Joe Rogan audience leans more conservative, but that doesn't mean that they want an out and out MAGA podcast. It always presented itself as more independent, and it doesn't really feel like it's doing that these days. But anyway, I'm not a fan of it. I've never really listened to the podcast, so I'm hardly an expert. Tori, what do you make of what you're seeing?
I feel like there's Joe Rogan fatigue, a little bit of a JR fatigue, to be honest with you. And I do want to posit another theory here. And the theory is that the Democrats are not only looking to media and not seeing anything except for your beautiful face and your amazing podcast, which does just stunningly well. But I will say this, they're also looking to Congress and they're looking for leaders, and they ain't seeing anything.
Yeah.
So I want to say this. I was really reading the New York Times, and they were saying that there's almost a surge, a Tea Party-like surge of Democrats coming across and saying, the people we have in charge right now, the Schumers, the Al Greens, even though he, swung his cane at Trump, are too old, to be honest, too out of touch, don't know how to fight back, and aren't leading the cause, okay? David Hogg, of course, from the Parkland shooting, who's become the vice president of the DNC, has said, we haven't hired or elected a Gen Z person in the last 2 elections. We have Maxwell Frost, that's it. So we're not seeing young, up and coming, strong, spirited Democrats with a lot to say, with some chutzpah, if I had to just say it right. In fact, one woman said, I had to go tell a 76-year-old representative what a podcast was. So there is.
Well, they're new. I mean, they've only been around since 2004 or something.
Right,
I mean,
right. So it's this is like an echo chamber of nobody fighting for me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to look for some young people with some energy who are going to take it on. And that's what the MeidasTouch has become. And you're going to see, I hope, a flood of new, young, up and coming congressmen and women that are sick and tired of the old guard, because we're not doing much. And so far, this podcast is doing more than Schumer.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing pretty well. If they really want to ascend to the pinnacle, then those guys should come on our show, get the dragon bump.
I don't understand.
And then I think you'll be fine. First, you take down Rogan.
Yeah.
Then you get the Iadarola boost.
Yeah.
And then I think that you're made in the shade. But anyway.
Totally made.
Yeah, exactly.
Iadarola boost.
By the way, I also just want to mention, so our producers were doing the research on the Joe Rogan subreddit, like what are they talking about, what are their frustrations or whatever, and one of the clips had linked to Sam Seder of the Majority Report in pushing back against some of this stuff. Again, like Joe Rogan now being affiliated with all these wealthy people that are constantly advocating for like poor people to have even less
money.
And so that's good for the Joe Rogan viewers to get access to that sort of information and perspective, but also, hey, a little shout out for Sam Seder, which is nice.
Way to go, Sam.
Members make a difference here at TYT. You help make the show happen, and we see you in the chat with your loyalty badge. Click the join button to become a member today.